Welcome back to the show, guys. It's Gia Macool, and today we have a great show for you. Today, I'm going to be discussing why respect has disappeared in so many relationships today. Let's get into it.
Forward, knowing there's something better on the other side, or you can give up and stay where you are. And everybody
ready to dive into these topics.
Let's get into these covert contracts.
I got some new apparel coming out with super style.
Leadership is about making sure that things get accomplished in the most effective manner.
You are a relationship guru, right? Listen, I think you're a relationship guru. I think you are a fitness influencer.
Kind of like mindset in your business.
Why men don't want the woman on social media.
I might edit this podcast, put this at the beginning of it.
It's always good to, follow somebody. That's a smart woman.
Yeah.
It's your girl, Gia Macool, and you are here for part 2 with Mr. Zuby over here. Hello, how are you?
Went not the easy route. She could have easily bankrolled, just like all the other girls do in this industry.
You know, there isn't a single relationship that I know of that hasn't been through a scenario like this.
What's for dinner?
I don't know yet.
Just forget about it.
What is wrong with you? Why do you have an attitude?
Just forget about it. I'm going to go upstairs. I've had a rough
You're
day.
slamming things around. I'm tired of the way you treat me.
Does this sound familiar? Have you ever stopped yourself and asked, why is your husband so defensive? If your husband suddenly becomes defensive or reactive in your own home, it's because he doesn't feel respected by his wife. You see, when a man feels ignored, when he doesn't feel seen, when he becomes reactive and he fights over everything, it's because he pretends to stop caring, because that is easier than admitting that his wife doesn't respect him. So how does a woman disrespect a man in a marriage? Well, it starts with the little things. You see, maybe your phone becomes more important than him. Maybe you're listening to your girlfriends more than you listen to him. Maybe your work takes priority over your husband. Every single dig, every nag, every little criticism that you give your husband makes him a little bit more and a little bit more checked out. So finally he blows. So he gets defensive and pissed. And what do? You criticize him more. You call him abusive. You dismiss his feelings. It's more disrespect. You see, a woman will disqualify how a man feels because she didn't like his tone. And women think they have the right to speak to a man how they feel. But because he needs to be an emotionally regulated leader, he can't speak to her the same way. This is simply demanding standards that you yourself are not willing to give. So what comes next? Well, we demand that he sees a counselor. We demand that he fixes himself. Because, of course, he's the one with the problem, right? So what happens there? You overstep his authority, try to go to somebody else to give your side of the story, only for them to say it was his fault and not yours. What's that? That's more disrespect, ladies. Are you seeing the cycle? Constantly disrespecting your husband. Women have to own all the ways that they constantly disrespect their husband on a daily basis. If they're criticizing everything he says and does because it's not done your way, because you're not trusting him to make decisions, or maybe you're making decisions without him constantly. Maybe you're believing that you're smarter or more superior than him. You're constantly treating him like a child, dismissing his needs to prioritize your own emotional needs. And then you wonder why he becomes avoidant, why he has a short fuse, why he turns to his work over you, why maybe he turns to addictions or other women. You're not faultless here, ladies. You are part of the problem. A man is not responsible for your happiness, just like a woman is not responsible for a man's happiness. It's both sides needing to understand that peace belongs to you, and no one else controls that except for you. We are always responsible for our actions and our reactions. We have to stop the blame. If you are constantly treating your husband with disrespect, you can't expect him to tolerate it. He shouldn't. And for the women that say, well, I can't trust him because he made a mistake in the past, so I can't go forward and I can't trust his moves. Well, you know what that's called? That's called scorekeeping. And scorekeeping is anti-marriage. And that's why over time these relationships fail. Here is the simple, easy way to fix your relationship. There's going to be a lot of counselors and therapists that will tell you, you know what, come to me, they'll take a check and they'll keep you in this very complicated they'll keep you on this complicated loop of, well, you got to handle this and you got to emotional regulate that and, go home and do these exercises. Really, it's way more simple than that. It's this simple. Your husband has to feel seen in his house. He has to feel desired by you as a woman. He has to feel wanted and appreciated for the things that he does on a daily basis. It's not just saying, I love you. It's actually showing it by your actions in the small things you do every day. That's how you change a marriage. It starts with you not pointing the finger. If you do this today, ladies, I can promise you your marriage will change. And if you start this today, then ask yourself, if I was doing these things all along, would I have a problem with the way that he reacts to me? Because a man who truly feels respected and loved in his relationship will move mountains for any woman. He will literally give his life for that woman. And he will never, ever trade her for the world. So I want to get into some research on this topic because I want to get into why this is not just an opinion or what has worked for me and my marriage. This is actually science-based. So if you do any research on psychology, on why women and men do what they do, there's a book that I like. It's called Women Can't Hear What Men Won't Say, and it's by Warren Farrell. And in his book, he constantly repeats throughout his work that men often interpret emotional safety through respect. That's why when women will say, well, men are emotionally unavailable or men are emotionless, that's actually false. Men do have emotions, and men respond strongly to whether or not they feel valued, they feel trusted, and they feel respected in that relationship. Men feel respected and will become more open and more available to a woman when a woman appreciates them. Okay? So if he's not opening up to you, if you feel he's not emotionally available to you, and he's always gone and he's always working, have you been appreciating him? Is he seen at home? When he comes home, is he being constantly jabbed every single day? Are you constantly telling him about all the things he's doing wrong, not giving him any affirmations, no positive affirmations? One of the things that Warren Farrell talks about in his books is that if a man is constantly dismissed or criticized and he's always hearing criticism on a daily basis, he will start to become avoided. When he's constantly feeling like you don't care or everything he does is wrong, he will withdraw because that's the way that he protects himself. And he'll withdraw to things like I mentioned before, to work, to maybe his friends, maybe to hobbies, maybe to drinking and addictions, but he will retreat somewhere where he's not constantly being devalued. Because respect is a stabilizing signal for a man in a long-term relationship. It's one of those non-negotiables. So just like women have their own non-negotiables, men also have theirs. And one of them is respect. If they're not receiving that, they're going to go elsewhere. Another thing is that the way men respond or experience chronic criticism is very different than women. You see, a woman might see criticism as feedback or correction, okay? And even if she's giving a lecture, to her, she's seeing it as, well, this is a way to make you better. Men do not necessarily see it that way. They will see it as repeated devaluation when it's not followed up with affirmation. So I'm going to repeat that. If she's constantly criticizing him negatively, telling him about all the things he's doing wrong, and it's not followed up with positive affirmations, he will see it as a devaluation. So what does that do? That basically tells a man, hey, I'm not valued in this relationship. If a man knows his worth, eventually he's going to get very tired of it. And then are you surprised when he blows up? Are you surprised when he withdraws? Are you surprised when he goes elsewhere? You shouldn't, because you asked for that. You didn't understand that a man is very different A man handles what you're saying very differently. And if you were constantly criticized, how would you handle it? I'm sure you wouldn't like it either. So put yourself in his shoes. When a man withdraws, oftentimes women will see it as, well, he doesn't love me or he doesn't care. But that's actually false, and I'll tell you why. You see, it has nothing to do with a lack of love. A man can love a woman deeply, but still go somewhere else. Why? Because when a man is chronically unappreciated or misunderstood, the natural reaction for him is indifference. It's the same kind of thing that happens in a marriage when a woman goes silent. When a woman goes silent, that's not a good sign, okay? She's checked out. It's no different than when a man checks out, because all he's met with, every solution he comes with, and when men are natural problem solvers, they want to fix things. So if he's always coming with solutions, let's do it this way, and you're undermining that decision, and you don't trust him to make decisions, and everything's got to go through you first, he feels stuck. He feels like nothing he does is ever good enough. So he naturally falls into emotional fatigue and puts his hands up in the air and lets things go. It's the same thing that I talk about when women like to talk about emotional labor. And I laugh at that word because women are the ones that want the house to be a certain way. I don't see men wanting their house to look like museums. Most men are happy if they have a TV and a couch. They don't care if everything's perfect on the walls and you got, mauve focus, a mauve wall for a focus with the fancy, furniture and the trendy looking kitchen. Like, men don't care about those things. So if you turn his house into a museum and then you expect it to stay that way so that you can't even live, you can't even put your feet up on the couch, you can't put a bag down on a table because it changes the appearance of your museum. Do you see where this causes issues in the relationship? It causes issues because women are the ones with these standards that are not realistic. And so when they say something like, well, I'm always the one doing all the housework, but nobody asked you to do that. You wanted the housework to be a certain way. You wanted the house to look a certain way. You need the perfect doily on the dining room table. You needed the 5-course meal when you invited a friend over. He didn't ask for that. He would have been happy with a bag of chips and dip. So simplify your life and sit back and stop demanding things that you yourself cannot sustain. Men often put a lot of care and express a lot of care through problem solving, right? Through fixing and supporting things. And if they feel like they are solving something, they want an affirmation. They want to hear that you're appreciated for that, right? And many women are not doing that. So he might fix your problem. He might come and change your tire, or maybe you have something broken in the house. He does it. And you just think that's part of his job. So you don't say thank you. You instead, you might go into, well, why it was done wrong, or why it doesn't look like the professionals did it. Okay. And I've seen this. I've seen women do this, and they don't stop to think, wow, thank you. I didn't have to call somebody. He was there. I appreciate you getting this done. They're criticizing how it was done. So you have to be really, really mindful, ladies, when, are you giving more positive affirmations in the home? Are the positive outweighing the negative? Because if you find yourself always criticizing, always correcting, never telling him thank you, then the problem isn't him withdrawing. The problem is how you are treating and respecting your husband and his efforts and his work. Much of our relationship conflicts today don't actually have to do with care. Probably care too much, okay? So the problem isn't a lack of care. The problem is in the ways that men and women show care and express that. Men express care very differently than women do. So it's not an absence of care itself. It's in allowing, a woman has to allow a man to express it in his own way, and vice versa. You have to be willing to say the way she's expressing care is in a different way. She might nag. She might constantly be on top of it, but if she goes silent, that's not a good thing. And he might try to fix something, but if it's not done your way, you can't complain about it. You have to say thank you and show appreciation, because that's him caring, right? That's him actually doing what makes him feel of value within the home. So if you get a chance, definitely go read that book by Warren Farrell. Women Can't Hear What Men Won't Say. It's a pretty interesting book. He's got many of them, but that was one that I thought was, on this topic. It had a lot to do with this topic. I want to bring you back to this reaction video, because now I want to watch a video. If a woman starts to show appreciation and react, she understands that peace belongs to her. How she reacts does truly come from her control, okay? It should not dictate how he reacts. If you don't like his tone and you don't like what he says to you, too bad. It's as simple as that. He doesn't control your peace. You control your peace. So how you react to him is all under your control. If he says something you don't like, it's not, why don't you care about me? Or I don't like the way you talk to me. It's, I'm going to stay quiet. I'm going to hear the information. And usually if you hear the information and what he's saying, there's actually a lot of truth to it. Okay. If you need to go cry somewhere else in the bathroom for a little bit and get your head together into a logical place, do that. But understand that the information he's telling you might sound harsh, but there's a solution to it, okay? He's trying to tell you something. He might be trying to tell you that his day was bad. He might be telling you he has too much on his plate and he's overwhelmed and he can't handle that right now. He might be telling you that you need to fix how you react to him. Or maybe he's telling you that you're not prioritizing him. And he's just not able to tell you what he needs to say. So we're going to watch a video right now of the proper way to react as a wife with your husband. Let's watch it.
What's for dinner?
Honey, I know you've had a hard day. I'll make something now for you and bring it to you. Why don't you go relax and put your feet up?
Thank you, honey. I love you.
I love you too.
So you can see how easy this problem was solved. And how was it solved? Putting down your phone, focusing on your husband, making sure he's well fed, making sure that he's appreciated, that he went to work and that he's providing for you, and to go take a rest. And I got it from here. These are the obligations of a wife. And many women today don't want the obligations of a wife. They don't want the responsibilities. They want the perks. They want a man to provide for them and pay the bills, but they don't want to take care of him in turn. They don't want to invest in him in return. That's not how it works. So both of these videos from the beginning to the start, when you see somebody who's defensive, okay, or they have an emotional reaction to something, okay, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're dysfunctional or they're toxic. And I think that women will do this a lot. They'll go automatically, well, there's something wrong with him, or he's a narcissist, or, he's got toxic behavior, right? They like to label things quickly as a way to control it. But that's not always the case. You see, it doesn't mean that a man, because he blows up or becomes defensive, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with him and he needs to be fixed. It's actually a response to being chronically underappreciated and misunderstood in his own home. And that shift, okay, that change of mindset can help any relationship go from what we saw in the beginning.
What is wrong with you? Why do you have an attitude?
Just forget about it. I'm going to go upstairs. I've had a rough
You're
day.
slamming things around. I'm tired of the way you treat me.
To this.
Honey, I know you've had a hard day. I'll make something now for you and bring it to you. Why don't you go relax and put your feet up?
Thank you, honey. I love you.
I love you too.
Simply seeing that somebody does not feel appreciated or prioritized in the relationship, and they're reacting because they've had enough. And it might not even be that particular time that he felt not prioritized. Maybe there was 4, 5, 6 small digs done over the course of a month that he went silent on and didn't say anything. And it just built up till he blows. I have a saying, if you continue to poke the bear, eventually that bear is going to poke back. We can't sit around blaming other people, we have to notice the patterns. Because when we notice the patterns, we can start realizing that we also control how those reactions happen. And you'll notice he will change his demeanor in how you treat him. So the bigger takeaway from this is that in a long-term relationship, okay, that requires your emotional and physical and spiritual needs to be met, emotional stability is not about just being present, okay? It's about whether both people in the relationship feel seen, feel respected, feel appreciated. It's less to do with words, I love you, and it's more to do with actions, showing the love. So before you come to the conclusion of, my husband doesn't care, or there's something wrong with my husband, he needs to fix himself, I want you to ask yourself some questions before you make conclusions, right? Can criticism become chronic enough to where somebody actually emotionally withdraws? Can both spouses unintentionally create a cycle of defensiveness? And what role do we as wives in showing appreciation play in breaking the cycle of our husband being defensive, reactive, and emotionally unavailable? I hope that helped. I hope this episode brought you some clarity on what's going on. And remember, there's going to be a lot of stuff online. There's really bad information online. It still boggles my mind when I'm online and I'm seeing this bad advice coming from in every single demographic. It doesn't matter, not just relationships, it's fitness and health and business. There's so much stupid information out there, to be honest. And I think people just really don't know what they're talking about half the time because they're divorcees, like I see a lot of people propping up divorcees, people who have been divorced multiple times and they've been in tons of failed relationships and they're out here giving advice. And I think to myself, why are we not listening to people who have successful marriages, who have been successful in that marriage and never ever walked away from their marriage? That shows a lot more mental fortitude. It shows a lot more ability to solve issues within a marriage because, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, this is a situation that goes on. Every single marriage I've ever known has been through this scenario. That's why this video hit home, because there is not a single person that I know that have not had this reaction, right? And it comes down to that. The way women show care and the way men show care are two completely different ways. And women don't understand that their constant, what they think is feedback, is negative criticism, which makes him feel devalued, and he snaps. Eventually he snaps. And so if you want to really fix it and you want to really fix your marriage, it's not about pointing the finger. It's not about believing that something better is out there, because I can promise you this. Every single relationship that you go into, you're going to have this issue, because female nature and male nature does not change. It is very constant across the board. And if you are a man hearing this video and you think, you know what, I'm going to find a woman who doesn't, nope, sorry. I did it in my own marriage. I had to learn. I had to say, I'm sorry. I'm still working on it. Every single woman goes through this. How she directs that feedback needs to always have appreciation and respect attached to it. And for the women listening to this, I think they're going to go out there and find somebody who isn't defensive or reactive. It's not going to happen, ladies. You're going to end up repeating the cycle in the next relationship, because it comes down to that. If a man doesn't feel respected, if he doesn't feel appreciated, if he doesn't feel seen, and really seen, ladies, okay? When I mean really seen, I mean not on your phone. Huh? Really seen. Put the phone down, focus on your man. That is what he needs to know. He needs to know that he's the most important thing, that he's what matters. And I think that women fail to understand the importance of that with a man in a relationship. So I hope today was a informative one, and make sure that you leave me those comments and feedback down below. I do appreciate your subscriptions. And until next time, guys, I'll see you soon.